Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in. I'm your instructor Joy. Thank you very much for your continued support with your kind questions, comments, sending me donations here and also my Patreon page, booking lessons with me. And you've been very kind with your time as well, volunteering in many different ways. Thank you very much. So today in this video, we're going to talk about Prima Vista, the sight reading. This was requested from a subscriber. Thank you very much. I'm not always very quick answering all your questions, but I'm doing my best. So thank you very much for being very patient with me. So when we say sight reading, Prima Vista in other terms, that means a music is given to us and we have to play in a limited time without practicing. So there's specific techniques one has to learn, and that can be learned no matter how new or how experienced you are. And that's a very good skill, very important skill to have in solo playing as well as in ensemble playing. Especially in ensemble playing, it's very much required. If you're in an orchestra or an ensemble setup, often one of the audition list is the sight reading as well. So I'm going to give you 5 checklists which will help you, and you can also practice on your own as well. In general, if you want to learn how to do a quick sight reading or want to get better at it, it's a good idea to pick the music that's not in your level but a little easier. It's not always the case when it comes to orchestral auditions, but it's a good way to start preparing yourself with sight reading exercises. So when it comes to checklist checklist 5, before anything, once you see the music, take a moment. It can be 10 seconds, it can be a couple of minutes, but do not jump into it playing right away. You need to take a short moment and then scan it through, so that once you start playing, you know what to do. Because remember, once you start playing the first note, you have to keep going until the end. So that's already too late. If you're doing sight reading in an exam or audition, you should not take too much time. Less than 2 minutes would be an ideal time to take a moment to scan it through. But if you're in a setup more solo, so you're the only musician, then you can take a little more time, a couple more minutes, if it allows. So 5 things to check. Number 1, key signature. Key signature is the one at the beginning of the music. For example, here. So you see whether there's a sharp or flat. Those are the ones that you have to check it. And not only you have to check the beginning of the key signature, whether you have sharp or flat and how many, you also have to scan it through whether the key signature changes. Yeah. Sometimes it starts with a 1 sharp and later gets more sharps or back to the previous key and so on. That's number 1. Check the key signature or changes of key signature. Checklist 2. Time signature. Is it 4/4? Is it 3/4? Is it 6/8? And so on. How many beats in a bar do we have to count? Because when it comes to sight reading, the rhythm is number 1 priority, more than anything else. Whether it's orchestra setup or a soloist setup, rhythm is very important. In order to get rhythmically correct, you have to know what kind of rhythm we're talking about, so that you know what kind of rhythmic pulse you can start with. And also, when you scan it through, make sure whether there's any changes of time signature as well. Now, next one, list 3. Understand the pattern, meaning every music, whether it's regardless of era or style, there is a specific pattern repeating in a certain way. Sometimes a certain theme starts at the beginning and then repeats at the end, and between there's something else going on. Or sometimes certain theme, certain melody repeats over and over, but in between there's something else going on. When you scan it through the music, see what the patterns are so that you can mentally prepare and you know what to expect. For example, if I may say, simple Twinkle Twinkle, like it starts. That's called that one pattern, like A, phrase A. And then that next one thing happened a little differently. call it B. And then at the end, the A comes again. So that when we see the music, we know it's A, B, and A pattern. Of course, this is one of the very simple form, but just to give an idea, whether it's large or small music, you have to understand what kind of pattern or what kind of composition pattern it is so that you can mentally be prepared. Number 4, anything unusual, anything unique, meaning there's an unusual rhythm such as dotted rhythm, or is there tied notes. Tied are the one we call it sometimes as all slur. That's the line going through above or below same notes, especially when it's tied or slurred over the bar. So from one measure to the next, that can be a little confusing. So make sure you check those ones and then mentally mark that one before you start playing. And also, is there any syncopation, like that kind of rhythm? Or are there any accidentals, sharps, flats, naturals, which works only for that specific measure and that gets cancelled automatically in the next bar? Make sure you mark those mentally as well. And are there any repeats? And are there any da capo sign, meaning da capo go to the beginning, such as dal segno, the segno sign? All those matters. Are there coda sign, jumping from one coda to the next? And remember, rests are as important as playing notes. Make sure you count those one as well, and as well as holding the long notes long enough. Make sure you hold those. All those unusual ones, mental mark. And last, once you've scanned it through, then you're going to start playing. But if you are in a solo setup, if you're the only musician, then you want to check the fastest passages, the fastest notes. And then based on that, you pick the tempo that you can play those fast passages and start playing like that. And do not rush. You are the only musician, so you can take your time and then phrase it off beautifully as well. Even though it's sight reading, it still has to be played beautifully and musically. And take time to breathe and sing as you play, meaning with your instrument. But if you're playing in orchestra, unfortunately, you don't get to pick the tempo. You have to follow the conductor or the leader of the ensemble and learn to be with the group. Now, when you're in an ensemble setup, such as an orchestra, make sure you sit in a correct way, that you can see your bowing, your left hand, and the music, and the conductor, which means you need to sit such way that all things are lined up so that it's all in your sight. Yeah. So if you're turning away and your music is here, your conductor's on the right side, you have to constantly move your body. That's not impossible, but will make things harder. Yeah, make sure you sit correct way so that you can see yourself, music, as well as a conductor, all in one line, if possible. And in orchestra, make sure to be with the group. Meaning, if you missed 1 or 2 notes, do not worry about it. Just try to play first note of each bar and try to stay within the regular pulse of the music. If it's waltz, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, always a first beat, you should be with it, and also first beat should be emphasized. And also pay attention when there's fermata, when you have to hold certain notes longer. And also in orchestra, the bowings matter too, which in solo setup, not necessarily very important. Whatever you do, when you do sight reading, for sure, do not stop, continue playing, and don't repeat or redo it. There's no such thing. Try to get at once. And if there's a mistake, that's okay. Just keep going, focus on the next one. Try to not make faces like, oop, or oop, I made a mistake, or anything like that. Just keep your face nice and relaxed, stern, and just focus and keep going. Yeah, like that, you will soon see, if you keep those 5 checklists, you will soon see it's not as complicated as you think. Yeah, I hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching, and happy music making. Hope to see you again. Bye bye.